I've got the 4 electric cars on sale in the UK with the longest range right here. So we've got the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which can do 372 miles, the BMW iX, which can do 380 miles, the revised Tesla Model 3 with an upgraded battery, which can do 389 miles, and the Mercedes EQS, which can do 464 miles on a full charge. But can they really go that far? To find out, I'm going to drive these 4 cars from Oxford all the way up north, see if I can get into Scotland. I'm also going to drive them until their batteries go completely flat to see what happens when they eventually conk out. What's going to happen? We're going to find out, because I'm Matt Watson and I like doing things that car manufacturers don't want me to. Buy, sell,
Car wow.
All these cars have a full battery. We've charged them up. My Ford Mustang Mach-E is saying that that'll get me 315 miles. It's a bit less than 372 it's supposed to have, but it is quite cold. Let's see what the other guys have got anyway. Mercedes, how much range is your car saying?
393 miles.
Tesla?
345 miles.
BMW?
303 miles.
Oh, I've got a better estimated range than the BMW. Interesting. So what's also interesting, this car's brakes are like really grabby. I'm not liking that. Neither did the car behind me. Right, we're joining the motorway now, and classic, well, nice manoeuvre by that lorry. Bloody hell, my don't actually do that. What was that all about? What the hell was what was he even doing? That was awful. Anyway, like I was saying, we're joining the motorway now for the long trek north. Hopefully we will make it up north and not get squished or killed by some crazy errant lorry driver. Let me tell you the rules of this video. We're going to run all these cars in their normal mode, so the default as set by the manufacturer. We're going to do the same with the regen as well. We're going to cruise along at the speed limit. At the moment we're on a dual carriageway, so we're doing 70 miles an hour where possible. We're going to use the car's cruise control systems as well to maintain the speeds, but obviously when we need to manoeuvre around we'll be deactivating them, but generally on the whole we'll be using the cruise control. Another thing we're going to be doing is keeping the climate controls all the same, 20 degrees with the air conditioning on. However, we won't be using any heated steering wheels or any heated seats. That means we should have some degree of consistency between all the cars. Another thing we're going to try and do is have a consistent driving style. So the idea is to drive as we'd normally drive when we're trying to be as efficient as possible. But what we're not going to do is hypermile. We're still going to make sure that we're driving normally. We just won't be thrashing the cars, because that obviously does just deplete the batteries rather quickly. One of the reasons we're not going to be hypermiling is because ultimately, if you have one of these cars, you don't want to be thinking about driving so super slowly to go as far as you can, because that's just not realistic. We want to see what the realistic range of these cars are if you just drive sensibly. Right, let me tell you about the Ford Mustang Mach-E. So the range kicks off with a rear drive version with 269 horsepower and a 70 kilowatt hour battery pack. That starts from £51,000. However, this has extended battery pack, 91 kilowatt hours, and it costs £59,000. £59,000 may seem like quite a lot of money for a Ford, but then it is a Mustang, right? It's a Mustang by name only. And maybe a bit of the design. It's got a coupe-like look to it, hasn't it? Like the proper Ford Mustang, it's just that it's a tall electric SUV. I think it's the smartest looking out of the 4 cars we've got here. The interior is nice as well, so it feels pretty quality. The design is cool as well. I like this big portrait screen. I tell you what's not so nice though, and that's the suspension. It's quite a bouncy car. It's not necessarily uncomfortable, but my fatty bits are getting a little bit jiggled more than I'd like. The trade-off of that slightly overly sporty, bouncy suspension is that this car does go around corners pretty well, so it holds the road nicely. It's just that it's not as much fun as you might want it to be, because the steering almost doesn't feel connected to the front wheels. It's all a bit remote and springy, and that brings me back to those brakes. I hate the brakes. I don't know what's going on with them at all. It's just, ugh. They need to sort them out, make them feel more natural. It's all the regen stuff, they just haven't quite figured it out, as well as the other manufacturers. All right, so I've been driving around 48 miles and I've got 82% of the battery remaining and 249 miles of range. And I've averaged 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Let's check in with the other cars. Mercedes EQS, what are your stats?
340 watt-hours per mile, 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour, 327 miles of range left, which is just under 80%.
Tesla. What about you?
262 watt-hours per mile, 3.8 kilowatt-hours per mile, 284 miles of range, 81% of battery.
Okay, that's interesting. The Tesla is more efficient than the other cars so far. Maybe the BMW is better though. I doubt it, but let's find out. Go on, BMW, give us your numbers.
78% of its charge remaining, 252 miles, 2.7 miles per kilowatt-hour.
So in terms of energy consumption, the BMW is the worst, then the Mercedes, then this Ford, and then the Tesla. But in terms of range, the Mercedes, because of its bigger battery, looks like it's going to go further, but then it's the Tesla, followed by the BMW, and then this last. Right, I'm going to leave the motorway now. I'm going to switch cars, so I'm just going to pull over at the services. The point of this video is to not charge the cars to see how far we can go. Good job that we're not needing to charge them, because here at Leicester Forest East Welcome Break Services, while there's all these electric charging bays provided by GridServe Electric Highway, the signs show you there is actually no electric charging here. Due to site power limitations, this charger is unfortunately out of use as requested by our partner Welcome Break. We apologise for the inconvenience, and it's a bit unfortunate if you have no battery left, because then you're brilliant. All right, I've upgraded. I've jumped into the BMW iX and I'm leaving the services and going on up the motorway. Though before I do, I should point out that while the chargers at the northbound Welcome Break were out of action, the ones on the southbound are working. So if you need to use the charger, you could use those. But you do have to do a trip of 4 miles for them. So go up to a junction, come back down, and then charge up at the southbound. And then if you want to continue on your journey, head back to the next junction, which is another 4 miles, and then head north again. And let's face it, if you are on zero battery, you might not make it to the southbound services for that recharge. Not ideal. Let me tell you about the iX. So the range kicks off at £70,000. So for that you get the iX40. It's got 2 electric motors, and combined they put out 326 horsepower. You have a 73 kilowatt hour battery pack, which will give you a range of around 250 miles. This is the iX50. It gets a larger battery pack, 108 kilowatt hours, which is good apparently according to BMW, for 380 miles, though this one has the larger wheels, which means that the range is actually reduced slightly to 369 miles. Part of the reason for that is that it's fitted with air suspension, which is just lovely. What does surprise me about this car though is how it goes around bends, because you think it'd be all kind of like lollopy and like a bit uncoordinated, a bit like a drunken hippo, but it's not. It grips the road very well, and it actually goes around the bends much better than you'd imagine a car that weighs 2.6 tons would do. It's quite expensive, this car, £106,000 starting price, but it has got quite a bit of power, 523 horsepower, so it's fairly rapid, though I'm not going to be experiencing the full punch today because I want to conserve electricity. I'm driving sensibly. Once again, I've got the cruise control on, set to 70 miles an hour, though annoyingly in this car, if I want to change the distance of the car in front, I have to go into a menu here and do it on the screen, which is just an absolute arse. Look, I've got to press that, and then I've got to go, where is the bloody thing? Is that it in there? Distance control? I mean, what absolute nonsense. This is not a good idea. Why would you do it like this? Why is it not the steering wheel? I know it looks like cleaner, like not having so many buttons. This is one button you need. It's a shame because the actual interior design of this car is pretty nice and the rest of it is easy to use. Feels fairly luxurious. I like it. And I tell you what, the way this goes down the road and over bumps compared to that bouncy Mach-E, it's like you're on a magic carpet. It just floats. It's lovely. The Mach-E is fairly quiet, but this is even quieter. I know it's a lot more expensive, this car, but it really does feel it. Feels more special inside as well, just a bit more futuristic. And I think I prefer this designer screen, kind of like landscape than portrait. It's like everyone went crazy initially, like copying Tesla with their portrait, and then Tesla like flipped on its head and went, oh no, with the new Model S Plaid we're going to go more landscape again. Back seats roomy as well, very practical family car. The Mach-E is fairly decent, though that coupe roofline does mean the headroom's a bit tighter than you might imagine. This is just, yeah, loads of headroom and knee room. Boot's big as well on this, 500 litres, which is about 100 litres more than that Ford Mustang, though still the Ford's boot isn't small. Practical, comfy, relaxing car. Doing these EV range tests can be rather boring at times, but thankfully this BMW has something that can give you a little bit of amusement. So if I go into my modes, I can then select a different driving setting, and the car will make various noises depending on which mode you're in. So if I accelerate now, listen to this. That's sport mode. Let's go into expressive. Express yourself, car. It's like someone playing an organ. And then, because I don't want to be doing that too much because it's going to affect my range, let's go into the final one, which is more appropriate for what we're doing. Let's go for relax, darling. Yeah, relax. Ah, it's more chilled. Now these noises have actually been composed by Hans Zimmer. I think BMW paid him a lot of money for those. That's all been factored into the cost of this car. I'd probably rather not have the noise and pay less money for it, if I'm being brutally honest. Right, let's just do a check-in with our range and efficiency. So we've done about 88 miles and this BMW is averaging 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour, and I've got 64% of battery remaining, which says a range of 208 miles. So Ford, can you tell me please your miles per kilowatt hour, then your remaining battery, and then your remaining range?
My miles per kilowatt hour number is 3.1. 68% of my battery remaining, 200 miles of range.
Oh, interesting. More efficient than this, bit less range because it's got a smaller battery. Okay, let's go to the Tesla.
249 horsepower per mile, which is 4 miles per kilowatt hour. I've got 235 miles left, and I'm also on 68% battery.
Okay, so Tesla, its efficiency is well above the other cars, and it's the one with the most range left so far. So Mercedes, what are your numbers?
317 watt hours per mile, 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour, 287 miles of range, which is 69% of the battery left.
So it seems that in terms of efficiency, the Tesla is ahead, then the Mercedes EQS a bit ahead of the Ford, and this is the least efficient in terms of energy consumption with its 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour consumption rate. It needs a big battery, doesn't it, this thing? It's time to switch cars again, so just pulling off the motorway at another service station. A little bit disappointed because I quite like driving this, especially the high driving position and the feeling of luxury. Although if I want to go as far as I possibly can, it's probably best to jump out of this car, to tell you the truth, because its range isn't amazing, is it? I just pulled into the services and there's a bit of chaos going on because a lorry's taken the wrong turn, and he's come into the car park area, which he's not supposed to do. Now, to be fair, I've accidentally ended up in the lorry park a few times, but it's not quite such a problem as when a lorry goes the wrong way. Got there in the end. I thought I'd give you another charging point update now we've arrived at Tib Shelf Services. So here, there seems to be just 2 charging bays. That wouldn't be ideal if we needed to charge all 4 of our cars, especially as one's already taken. Let's see how this car is charging. This is obviously a DC rapid charger. It's charging at 23 kilowatts. Now, if I wanted to charge the BMW fully at 23 kilowatts, that would take over 4 hours. In terms of the price, it's 65p per kilowatt hour. When you multiply that up by the capacity, it will cost £70 for a full charge of that BMW, which is quite expensive. Obviously that's not completely relevant because the BMW might have a different charging profile. I've now jumped into the Tesla for the next section up north on the motorway. I'm noticing that I'm sitting a lot lower down than I was in the BMW. I quite like a raised driving position, but do you know what? I actually prefer the view out the Tesla because it has such a low dash. Forward visibility is amazing. I quite like the seating position in this as well. It feels reasonably sporty. I'll tell you what, joining the motorway punch from these dual electric motors in this long range model. Do you need the performance version? I don't know, I better back off actually. I'm about to undertake that truck, which would be breaking the law. Breaking the law, breaking the law. I don't know what I'm going on about. Let's get up to speed and get the active cruise control sorted out on this. Yeah, you press this button, don't you? Because it's got all the autonomousness. Oh, bloody hell, you jump from one car to the next, you can't remember how things work. That's the parking button. I'm trying to put it in park while driving along. It's this button here on here, isn't it? There we go. There we go. No, that's the voice activation control. I've forgotten how to drive a Tesla. Is it this button? What is it? It's pull, or is it pull this? It's knock it down. That's it. I knew it was on that stalk. Has this one got the why is the steering not working? Oh, it's double press, isn't it? Double press, double press. There we go. Finally, we got there. Okay, so we seem to be coming to some traffic. Anyway, this is a good opportunity for me to tell you about this car. So the Tesla Model 3 range starts at £48,000. For that, you get the rear drive standard range plus, which is actually the car that I've got. I actually say I've got, my mum's got it. That's why I don't fully remember how to operate it properly, because she's got it. Anyhow, this long-range version has 2 electric motors, 1 on each axle, and it has 351 horsepower. It's also got a 79 kilowatt-hour battery pack. That's an upgrade of 4 kilowatt-hours compared to the previous version, because they've just done a battery upgrade on it, and that means you get an extra 40 miles or so range out of it. I actually did an EV range test in the previous version of the Tesla Model 3 long range, and I actually managed 270 miles on a full charge, which was 78% of the claimed range. It'll be interesting to see how much further it does actually do in reality to that car. It'll be embarrassing if it does less, won't it? Thankfully, the traffic's starting to move a lot freer now. We're getting up to speed, and I am noticing that this car definitely isn't as quiet travelling as that BMW, but then it is less expensive, feels less expensive on the inside as well. It's not terrible, but the build quality just isn't as good as that BMW, and I think the Ford feels slightly nicer as well. I do like the minimalist design, but part of the problem with that is that you have to control absolutely everything through that screen, which can be a bit distracting, though the voice commands are very good, and you can actually do quite a lot of the controlling through just voice commands. They're better than any other cars, I think. It just seems to understand you more. It's an understanding car. One thing that is annoying is the position of the speedo there. This car needs a heads-up display. Why don't they give it a heads-up display? It's a shame it hasn't got it. Now, it's not as practical as the 2 SUVs I've been in because it's a saloon body style. The space in the back is pretty decent, apart from headroom, because of the sloping roofline. It can be a bit tight if you're tall. And the boot, because it's a saloon, it's not a hatchback, it's a bit hard to load bigger items into it. The boot capacity of the Model 3 is 425 litres, so it's slightly bigger than the 400 litre capacity you get on the Mach-E, but obviously down on what the BMW iX has. However, you do have some space underneath the bonnet in the front boot, so it's not massive. So it's practical enough, this Tesla. I quite like the way it is to drive. Its performance is really, really good, and it handles quite well, and the steering is sharp, so it feels reasonably sporty, and the suspension is pretty decent as well. Definitely better over bumps than the Ford Mustang Mach-E, and the brakes are very smooth. Some manufacturers, the way the regen blends with the friction braking isn't done particularly well. You can tell Tesla's led the way with electric cars for quite a while. One complaint, I think the designs are a little bit nah. Still, the Tesla Model 3 isn't polarising like that BMW, which, to be honest, has a really ugly face. Like the rear of the BMW though, but overall this Tesla's a little less offensive. Now, if you want to see my full in-depth video review of the Tesla Model 3, click on the pop-up banner up there, follow the link in the description below. Let's do another status update. So, we've done 151 miles. This Tesla has averaged 244 watt-hours per mile, which works out to be 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour. I've got 47% of battery remaining and 164 miles of range left. Let's find out what the other cars are doing. So, BMW, what are your numbers?
2.7 miles per kilowatt hour, 44% of its battery remaining, 150 miles of range.
Ford?
3.1 miles per kilowatt hour, 44% battery, 123 miles.
So it looks like the Ford is going to run out first. Mercedes?
307 watt hours per mile, 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour, another 208 miles of range, 51% still remaining.
That Mercedes is doing all right. Looks like it's going to win, but the question is, how close can they get to their claimed ranges? And might we have some differences when we're right at the end of running out of battery? And what's exactly going to happen when they do run out of battery? Will the cars behave the same, or will it be different from manufacturer to manufacturer? I'm so excited. Can't wait to find out. Yeah, I've got to think of a way to entertain myself when I'm just like driving at the motorway for hours on end doing this kind of thing. I've stopped off at Moto Weatherby service station right up north, and it's bloody freezing. Anyway, we've got a whole bank of charging stations. There's 12 of them. Looks like at the moment there's 6 cars in there, so plenty of space if we did need to charge, which we don't obviously. Let's have a look at what kind of charging rates these cars are getting. So this Renault Zoe is at 46% full, and it's charging at 33 kilowatts. Not that fast. Right, let's have a look at this on this Hyundai Ioniq. It's charging from 19% and it's at 32 kilowatts. So much for rapid charging, eh? Right, let's see what's going on over at this Polestar 2. Whoa, it's more like it. 60% full, it's charging at 74 kilowatts. This charger is clearly out of action. So this car's charging at 9 kilowatts, this Ioniq, but it is almost full of battery, and they do charge slower the fuller the battery gets. Finally, we come to this BMW i3, charging at 42 kilowatts. What's all this talk about 100 kilowatts, 150 kilowatts, 250 kilowatts, blah, 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 blah. The reality is a lot lower, isn't it? I've just done my final car swap and I'm now in the Mercedes EQS 450 Plus. Yeah, I've saved the best till last. Well, that should be the one with the longest range till last. Although, will it actually turn out to be the longest range? We're going to find out. We've still got quite a lot of miles to do. Let me tell you about this car. It's rather expensive. The starting price is £106,000, and that's for this car, the 450 Plus. It's got a single motor on the rear axle, putting out 333 horsepower. It's got a 108 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which is the same as the BMWs. That is the usable capacity. That's what I've been quoting for all these cars, because that's the amount of battery you can actually use. Obviously. The claimed range of this car is 464 miles. Well, that's if you're on the 20-inch alloy wheels, which come as standard. This has upgraded 21s, and as a result, its range falls by 14 miles. It's 450 for this car. As well as slightly reduced range, another downside of bigger wheels is that it can affect a car's comfort levels, but you don't really notice it on this EQS. So you get air suspension as standard, and it's just so good at dealing with bumps. It just floats along the road. I reckon it's even smoother than the BMW. It is absolutely lovely. In terms of noise levels, it's quiet in here. Very similar to the BMW, to tell you the truth. Very, very quiet, very relaxing. I mean, listen to this. Now I'm on a not so noisy surface of road. You can hardly hear anything. I'm going to move over onto the noisier bit. Have a listen to this. Can you hear the tyres a bit more there? I mean, this is a really rough surface. I'm going to move back onto the quiet patch. What a difference! And now, you know, cruising at 70, you'd hardly know you were moving. It's lovely. Seats are nice as well. The interior is pretty cool, like the design of it. And the ambient lighting, darling. All feels very premium. Quite a different screen approach to the BMW. Gone for the portrait thingy again, like the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Though you can get this car with this incredible hyper screen where the whole dash is just screen. In terms of the actual exterior design though, this car just looks a little bit dull, a bit like it's melted somewhat. They've designed it for efficiency, you know, to maximise the range, to make it as aerodynamic as possible, but they've made it just look as dull as possible as well, unfortunately. It's a shame because, you know, this is the flagship electric car from Mercedes. In terms of practicality, lots of room in the back seats. Headroom's decent as well. Slight issue is that the backrests on the seat are a bit too upright for my liking. In an S-Class, they seem a bit more reclined, a bit more comfortable. I can't fault the boot size though, 610 litres, the biggest here. Though obviously because it's a saloon boot, once again it's not as practical as a lift-up tailback that you get on both SUVs, the Mustang Mach-E and the BMW iX. There's no front boot on this, like the Tesla. In fact, none of the other cars have a front boot. Why not? Seems bizarre. In fact, you can't even open the bonnet on this car. Only Mercedes dealers can, for reasons. Did you notice that? That was me weaving about in my lane. And you get a warning here of the red light flashing. Look, do it again. Yeah, there we go. As well as some vibrations in the steering wheel and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, I should talk about stability, because this car comes with rear wheel steering as standard, which helps make it more stable at high speeds and helps make it feel agile when you're going quickly. This car does go around corners very well. I wouldn't say it was necessarily sporty, but if you push it on a twisty road, it can be a little bit of fun to drive. Better than the BMW iX a little bit because it's a saloon car, so lower down. As sharp as the Tesla? No, but then it's quite a lot heavier. You see, the Tesla weighs 1.8 tonnes and this weighs 2.4. Still, at least it's a bit lighter than the BMW, eh? For reference, the Ford Mach-E weighs in at 2.1 tonnes. There you go, I think you've got all the stats you need now. Now, all I need to do is just sit behind this wheel for another 175 miles. Now you might be thinking, Matt, why are you like testing these EV ranges just on the motorway? You know, they're least efficient when they're going faster. They're much better in town. You see, the thing is, the range of an electric car doesn't matter so much when you're driving in town because you're probably close to your home. So you'll drive around, use it, and then you get home and just plug it in. Where it really matters is on the motorway when you've got to do a long drive and you don't know whether there's going to be a charging point en route. Maybe they'll be broken like at some of the services we've been to. Who knows? That's when the real world range actually really matters. How far can I go on a single charge without stopping? And you're going to be doing those kind of drives on the motorway, and you're going to want to be doing them at 70 miles an hour, aren't you? We've been going now for 200 miles and it's gone dark. Good old British winters. It's dark at 4:15. Lovely. This car's efficiency is 313 watt-hours per mile, which works out to 3.2 miles per kilowatt-hour, so it's staying pretty steady really. It's got about a third of the battery remaining and it says that's worth about 140 miles of range. Let's see how the other cars are doing. Ford Mustang Mach-E, what's happening with you?
3.1 miles per kilowatt hour, 60 miles of range, which is 24% of the battery left.
How about the BMW iX?
2.7 miles per kilowatt hour, 26% of its battery left, 83 miles of range.
Let's find out about the Tesla. Is the Tesla doing better than the iX? Has it got more range left? So Tesla, what are your numbers?
247 watt hours a mile, 4 miles per kilowatt hour, 90 miles of range, 26% battery.
Right, so the Tesla and the BMW are going to go a similar distance, and it'll be interesting to see which one actually goes the furthest. This will be going the furthest overall, but what will the actual numbers be? The range says 140, but there's a max range figure which is 20 miles more just below it. Will I be able to do the max? We're going to find out.
The Ford's just had the low battery warning light come on. Just under 20% of battery left now, 46 miles to go.
That was bad news coming from my crotch. Let's just clarify what exactly that was all about. Hello, who's that?
The Ford Mustang, and we've got just under 20% battery left. So I've got a big orange light on the dashboard that says low battery, reduce climate use for more range. 45 miles of range left.
Right, you might have to peel off the motorway soon, get yourself to a charging point or near one. This has come a little bit sooner than I thought, but maybe you'll go further than that 45 miles. We'll find out. It's pitch black now, look at this. This is the tiring bit. I'm now in some road work, so it's a 50 mile an hour limit.
The Tesla has just given me its first warning for the battery.
Really? The Tesla? So how many miles does it say you got left?
It says that I've got 56 miles left, but it's quite an interesting battery because there's more to do with the temperature outside.
What do you mean by that? So it's just been affected by the fact it's quite cold. I've got 4 degrees on my readout.
The Tesla thinks it's 3 degrees outside, and it's saying that the temperature is going to seriously affect my range and I need to recharge ASAP.
Oh dear, the Tesla doesn't like to get cold because it's from California, you know, that's why, that's a problem. Whereas the German cars, they're used to the bit of frost, yeah. We've now done 250 miles and I've got probably about 22% of battery remaining, 85 miles left of range. I'm averaging 312 watt hours per kilo, whatever it is, which works out to 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Let's see how everyone else is doing. Tesla, what are your figures?
246 watt hours per mile, 4.1 kilowatt hours, 35 miles of range left, 10% battery.
Okay, 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour, that's good. How about you in the BMW?
2.8 miles per kilowatt hour, 10% of my battery remaining, 36 miles. It did flash up a warning saying I had 40 miles a few miles ago, so nothing serious yet.
And finally then, Ford, what's happening with you?
3.3 miles per kilowatt hour, 16 miles of range, 6% of the battery. So in a couple of miles' time, I'm going to dive off at the next exit.
I don't think you're going to make it to Scotland.
There's no chance of me getting to Scotland.
Here we go. There goes the Ford. Goodbye and good luck. The further north we go and the later it gets, the colder it gets, fluctuating there between 3 degrees, and I just popped down to 2.5 degrees. The batteries aren't going to like that, it's going to affect the range. The speed limit has dropped though, so we're not going quite so quickly, so that will help the range.
In the BMW, I've just had a warning signal. All of my range readouts are now yellow instead of white, and the car is telling me I have just 25 miles before I am out of battery.
Oh dear, oh dear. Right, I think that the BMW is going to have to leave very, very shortly. Let's find out. Hey BMW, how are you getting on? How's things looking?
Still not good. Down to 3% battery and just 12 miles of range, so I'm going to have to bail at the next turn off.
How about you, Tesla?
Unfortunately, it's a similar story here. I've got 3% and 10 miles. I was hoping to make it to a supercharger a bit further north, but that is not going to happen, so I'm coming off here.
I've got 15% left, like over 50 miles. I'm quite happy. I can go further. I might make Scotland. So you two are doing very similar. It's going to be interesting to see which goes the furthest. Tesla, do you think you're going to beat the BMW?
I'm confident, and I'm going to put it down to the driver over the car.
Okay, and BMW, what's your call?
Well, if I can get this close to the Tesla in a car that's much bigger, much heavier, and much less aerodynamic, then I reckon the driving skill is sitting in this seat.
It's also got a much bigger battery and is much more expensive. So don't try and get some moral victory with your £100,000 BMW This is just not going to happen. It won't wash with me.
Sorry, Matt, I couldn't hear any of that. I'm just going to assume you agree with me.
Like bollocks I do. Here comes the junction, Alnwick. And I'll keep pressing north. Okay, then you. No one in Scotland says that at all. The BMW is indicating. I can't see the Tesla in front, but I'm sure he is as well. I'll say goodbye for now. If they both run out of electricity around the same point and they're too far from a charger and their cars won't move, they can spoon each other to share body heat so they don't perish in the cold. I've got to say, I really love the headlights in this car. So you've got adaptive LEDs which can blank out part of their beam so that you don't dazzle oncoming drivers or the people that you're behind. You can actually see the beam from here, the way it's actually separating out the beam and blanking part of it out so I don't shine too brightly on the van in front. And you can see how it lights up the road signs on the left, so while that's blanked out there, then it illuminates the road sign at the side of the road so you can see what's going on. So cool, really, really helpful, great feature. Well, I'm getting on for almost 300 miles, it's at 294 at the moment, and I've got 32 miles of range left. Looking at the map, I'm going to make it into Scotland, that's good. But I wonder how that Ford Mustang is doing. It's got to be out of battery by now. Let me just give him a call.
Hello?
Hi Paul, how you doing?
I'm driving around in circles. I have 0 miles left. I have 0% battery. And I've got a big red warning on the dashboard that says depleted battery, stop safely now.
And you were ignoring it.
The car seems remarkably unconcerned, which I quite like.
Cool. Give us a call if you suddenly run out of battery completely and not just running out an indicated amount of battery. Oh, do you know what's just happened? I've had a warning pop up saying that I'm on reserve level of battery and that I need to charge it. That clicked over at 30 miles of range remaining. Oh, I've got a yellow warning sign on the battery now, look. Oh, I don't care. Let's check in with the Tesla. Hi Darren, it's Matt. I was worrying about your battery.
Well, I'm currently driving around an industrial estate with 4 miles of range left.
Have you had any more warnings or anything pop up on the dash?
Yeah, so I just had a warning that said, plan your next charge. You are almost too far from any known charging locations. So the Tesla's getting nervous.
Although you're right near an Ionity charger. Basically, it's trying to force you to use a Tesla supercharger, isn't it? But it's saying that one absolute dick of a machine.
Yeah, it did say you're almost too far, so I think it's throwing shade at Ionity there.
Oh, really? Okay. Have you had any reduction in power or anything, or not yet?
Nothing I've noticed so far, but I will report back if that is the case.
So I've just clocked over 300 miles. How many miles have you done so far?
I've done 279 miles.
A bit less than me. I wonder how far you're going to end up going, whether you can actually break the 300.
We'll find out. I will let you know whatever happens. See you later.
Let's see how the BMW is doing. Hi Nick, you all right?
All good, still going, 1% battery, fewer than 5 miles of range. I've done 279 miles so far.
That's exactly the same as the Tesla which I just spoke to. Are you near the Tesla?
Yeah, we're passing each other as we both wait to run out first.
So there's going to be a right battle between you two to see which one can go the furthest.
Yeah, and I think there's only one charger as well, so if he breaks down, he might not be getting a push from me, let's put it that way.
This is going to be so much fun. It's good to see that you're so determined to win. Anyway, I'll let you get on with it so you can concentrate and make sure that you do that.
Thanks, Matt. Best of luck to you.
I don't need any luck. I'm by far and away going to get the furthest. Here we go. Signs to Edinburgh. Getting closer to Scotland. Can't be far now. Where's the board? I can see it on the sat nav. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. I'm about to cross into Scotland. So things are finally getting a little bit desperate in the Mercedes. I've got a tortoise icon and it says that they've reduced the performance of the drive system to preserve the battery. I've got 5 miles of range remaining, 2% battery. I still think there's quite a few miles in this because I have done 314 miles and we've got 5 miles of, well actually 4 miles of range remaining. We're almost at the end. Oh, there's a warning. The only way to clear it is to do this, which is bizarre. If I stop, turn the car off and on again, I can clear it. We can get going again. That could be awkward to figure out exactly how many miles we do when it conks out. Thanks, Mercedes. Thanks a lot for that. Right, I've got a solution down here. We've set up my phone with special GPS, which is measuring how far we're going in addition to the 314 miles. So if we don't have that trick computer, we can use this one and add this figure to that 314 miles. While it's saying I've got reduced performance, still let me go to the speed limit. Just don't get there quite so quickly. Got to give it to this car. Oh, wait a minute, we're going up a hill and it's really struggling. To be fair on the car, it has given me plenty of warning that I'm low on battery. It really has. 1 mile of range remaining. The battery is on 1%. We're now on 0% battery. I'm going downhill now, lift off the accelerator. It's gone back up to 1. Yeah, regen. Give me some more charge. Let's eke this out. Yeah, my mileage has gone up to 2 miles. Yes, yes, every little counts. Oh, there we go, look, it's just gone over to 0% battery again. Though it's still saying I've got 1 mile of range. Okay, we've now got no miles of range left, and we've done 340 miles plus 4.5 miles, so 318 miles, let's say. Let's see how much further we can go on 0% battery and no range left. I've chosen a route to circle, which includes a petrol station. It's no use to me though if I do break down, at least I can get some snacks. Oh, this car is really struggling up this hill. It's not liking it at all. My foot is to the floor. It's literally, look, to the floor. And I can't go over 19 miles per hour. Oh, I've reached the top of the hill. We get some regen on the way down. Build up some momentum to get around this roundabout. We're going downhill, and it doesn't seem to be picking up speed. There is no way I'm going to make it up that other hill. All right, here comes the longer hill. I'm not hopeful here. Here we go. Oh, this could be it. This could be it. This is going to be it. Oh, I might have to indicate. 6 miles an hour. 5, 4, 3. This is literally walking pace now. There's like a slight stutter from the motor. 2. Right, I've got 10 miles here on this, so 314 miles plus 10, 324 miles. I'm literally dying. I can't believe it's still going at 2 miles an hour up this hill. 1 mile an hour, 2. Can't make up its mind. Come on! I wonder if it's going to make it, and I'll do another lap at 1 mile an hour. Might have spoke too soon. Oh, bit of a jolt there. Oh, it's like it's given me just a small amount of power just so I can maneuver it to get it to a safe position. That'd be classic Mercedes, that will. They'll have thought about this. I mean, no one's really going to drive their car like that, but they do have these safety systems, you know, in place, and they'll have thought about any kind of scenario to make it as safe as possible. Is that the way they are? I know, sinks, this is it. What is it? This is weird. I've never had one do this before. I've actually had it where I've driven quite a few cars until they die, and they don't seem to like drag on like this one. This one really is just not willing to die completely. Oh, come on. I'm almost at the top of the hill. This is crazy. I think if I do make it down and I get to the garage and go around that, I won't be getting up this hill again. Oh, what's this? Stop immediately, drive will be deactivated. Right, it's had enough of this, hasn't it? It's telling me to stop, and it's going to stop the drive. It's giving me plenty of warning, to be fair. Oh, and that's it. It's over. The car has no more left. Oh, the warning lights came on and it just, yep. We're dead, we're done, we're finished, it's over. Right, so 10 miles since I started that, plus the 314, that's 324 miles empty. Now, I wonder if I was the first car to run out of battery. I'm going to call the Tesla next.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Darren, you're right, you still going?
I'm not, no.
Good.
I've had I've had to pull over because the car is come to a stop, and I've put it in park, and now it will not come out of gear, or go into gear rather.
And how long ago did that happen?
About 10 or 15 minutes, so I'm starting to get a bit chilly.
So how many miles have you done in total?
290 miles exactly. It was about an hour of driving. I'm not
Really?
entirely sure the miles because I start to lose my mind driving around an industrial estate.
At what speeds? Just like 20 miles an hour or something?
Yeah, between 15 and 30, I think.
Okay, so probably you did about 20 miles then on top. Well, I'm glad I went further than you. So the RAC have turned up and they've plugged themselves into this car because they've got a special charger on board. Now they do have the option to lift it, all four-wheel lift and tow it, but they've decided on this occasion to charge it. Get enough juice in the battery so I can drive to the nearby charging station. So I'm just waiting for it to fill up. Just look at it here, see how it's getting on. EQ mode. It's charging quite slowly. They can charge it up to 5 kilowatts. Oh, wait a minute. Paul and the Ford.
It's finally stopped.
Okay, so how many miles has it done in total?
In total, 287.9. It just gently ground to a halt. There was no alert or anything. The accelerator stopped working effectively, and then I got a message on the dashboard that said the vehicle shut off.
Was it a progressive thing?
The power was a bit down. I mean, it was fine for car parks. It was picking up quite nicely at low speed, and then suddenly it just decided it had enough.
So how long were you driving round for with it on zero battery?
21.6 miles, but it was well over an hour and a half. But the worst thing was, once it went to zero, the aircon switched off, and it's 2 degrees outside, and the car kept fogging up, so I've had to have the windows open.
Brilliant. Anyway, I'll leave you to push it to the charging station.
Bye.
Anyway, back to the charging. So it's currently charging at 1.8 kilowatts, which is slower than you can actually charge from that van. But it's probably because this battery is so empty. Charging at 1.8 kilowatts is going to take until 3 a.m. on Sunday morning to fill up completely. Today is Wednesday. Thankfully, we don't need to do that. We just need to charge it to 1% to get it to that nearby charging station. Right, now I'm going to check the BMW.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Nick. Don't tell me you're still driving around in circles.
I am. I've just helped push Darren to a charging point, and we're grappling with how to open the flap on a dead Tesla, so I'm not actually driving at the moment. The car's sort of auxiliary battery is flat now, so we managed to put it in towing mode so we could push it. Now that we're here, nothing will turn on because everything's electronic. We can't open the flap. And the thing is, we had it open already when we were pushing it, but I think it timed out and closed itself. So we've left the window open so that we can still get in and out.
Really?
So as far as I know, the BMW is still going, it's still on, it was still driving when I got here. 290.9 at the moment.
Maybe you can leave Darren to sort that out, get back in your car, start driving around, and maybe you'll have some inspiration as you're going around in circles as to a solution for that.
I'll be praying to Elon.
Yeah, well, I think he's too busy with Twitter right now.
See ya, bye.
What a bloody nightmare. That's a problem with electric charging ports. Such a bad idea. Look cool, but actually could be a nightmare. We've got some charge in the car, enough to drive it here to this charger. It's supposed to be a rapid charger with DC fast charging, but that's not working, so we're having to charge it on 11 kilowatts AC. Blooming annoying, these chargers, aren't they? It means I'm going to be stood around here for a lot longer than I hoped I would be. But that's all pretty much stopped now, apart from that BMW, which is weird. I think he's still going, driving around in circles. What on earth can be going on? I've got quite a while here yet. Maybe I'll just get a hotel nearby and leave it overnight. I don't know what to do. Wait a minute, that's my phone. This must be it. This must be the call. Nick, tell me your car has finally stopped.
Matt, my car has finally stopped.
Oh, thank God for that.
I have driven 302.8 miles.
And how many miles when it was saying no battery left?
280 odd miles, so it was about 20 miles ago.
Oh my gosh. Right, well, I'm glad it's over for you and for me and for everyone. I think we need to call it a night.
I think so too.
Before I go to bed, I'm going to give you the final scores. So the Mercedes went the furthest. It managed 324 miles, which is 72% of its claimed range. It averaged 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour over the entire journey. In second place was the BMW. It managed 303 miles, which is 82% of what its claimed range is. Its energy consumption was the worst at 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. In third place was the Tesla Model 3. It did 290 miles, which which is 75% of its claimed range. It had the best energy consumption at 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour. The Ford came last. It managed 288 miles, which was 77% of its claimed range. Its average energy consumption was 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. Now, if you want to compare all those stats side by side, just pause the video now. We've got a table for you. You can just take it in at your leisure.